I think in Asia Pacific, what we are seeing is some decoupling between the two or three different parts, as you mentioned, in terms of flows. As regards retail, we're seeing that split into people who are committed to regular savings or pension-type programs. And interestingly, they're continuing. Those flows are continuing strongly. And we're seeing actually quite a lot more interest in unit-linked type programs through the insurance arm. In terms of institutional money, we're seeing a lot of opportunism. And a lot of institutional customers, corporates and governments, are actually using this as an opportunity to put money at work. With asset prices being so distressed at the moment, they're able to do so incredibly effectively and will profit over time. And they have obviously a much longer term time horizon. If we pulled back onto the retail flows, which obviously Asia is infamous for, right across Asia, it is much more of a retail consumer type asset management business. The difference between money coming in and out of the market, or hotter money, if you like, we're still yet to see much flows in that area. There are some opportunism. We're seeing some good flows in Greater China, where China has recovered fairly strongly this year so far. But it's really the outstanding side of regular savings and pension provision, and I think it's an awareness that over the long term there is a real brewing issue over providing enough wealth for you as an individual, for the consumer as an individual, to be able to retire on, and that time bomb is ticking. You asked a question a moment ago, and I think it's a very pertinent one around trust, and I think that is a big issue for us, and it's very much at the center of what we try to do in terms of creating trust in the consumer to come back into dealing with financial services companies. We've had, the whole industry has had many issues where consumers no longer feel that we're the most trustworthy to deal with. And I think that that's a big issue and something that we as an industry are addressing as much as we possibly can. And that will start to lead on to obviously the markets recovering and the flow of funds continuing. I think opportunistic in terms of asset class delivery is partially it, and by that I don't mean a return to complex products or hedge funds or alternatives. I think there's a place for those, and I think they have a place, there's no doubt. And a lot of the more sophisticated customers need and want those, and whether they're institutions or private clients. I think there is a desire in rebuilding, as part of rebuilding the trust, is to make sure that we simplify what we do, and simplify it and make it more transparent and clear, and then really deliver on those promises that we make when we talk about investments and investment products. Because I think one of the things that we've so clearly seen during the last 9 months is that whilst we've had issues, of course, with distressed asset prices and the volatilities in the market, we've also had many issues with product construction that has caused issues and problems. And I think the structures that we put assets in and the requirement of regulators across the region to make those simpler and easier, and equally more importantly for us to be able to manage them simpler. And this is something that the regulators need to deal with. They need to allow products to be merged, to be formed, to be managed, and to be disbanded when they don't either raise assets or they're no longer suitable. So we need more flexibility in the product structure creation side. It may surprise you if I said Singapore, because I think it's acting as a great hub for private banking, and I think that working with those distributors into the more affluent customer base is something we're keen to do. I think the other markets, the big Greater China markets of China itself, of course, but in Hong Kong and Taiwan. And some of the debates and discussions with the financial services in Taiwan is very helpful in this area. So I think that as a body of growth is very strong. And I remain keen on Korea, naturally enough, and I think that will re-emerge very, very much stronger. And finally, I think with a completely different type of program, more around, there's an ugly American term called deaccumulation, which is basically providing income from assets. I think that's a very key thing that we ought to be able to deliver in Japan. I think it's back to basics. It's everyone is using it now, but I think simplicity, transparency, honesty, and making sure we keep the customer, providing solutions to meet customer needs, which is really all back to basics.